Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Cheesy Bites. This time we're diving into a bit of a different category: headphones, namely the Aiaiai TMA-2 Wireless Plus. The main selling point of these, and the reason why I bought them, is the promise of lag-free or low-latency wireless operation via the proprietary transmitter, which looks like this, as well as delivering balanced sound output fit for production. It's able to achieve both of these goals, but not without restraints, and in this video I'll be giving you my impressions after having used them for the past 3 months for work, editing YouTube videos, playing games, and occasionally some guitar. However, if you're looking for a professional sound review, I won't be able to do that, as I'm simply not equipped for it, both in terms of gear and mental ability. Alright, let's start. If you ever tried to make music or edit a video with Bluetooth headphones, depending on how picky you are and the Bluetooth standard being used, there can be a noticeable delay, so much so that it makes editing, or especially something like playing an instrument, very annoying to impossible. Some people aren't as bothered by this as I am, and I have to admit that I'm not sure if you'd notice if that one joke in a video was just a few frames late or early, but I can hear it, or at least I think I can hear it, and it annoys the living crap out of me when I do. For that reason, I've been using my trusty Sony MDR7506 since forever, but when I stumbled over these and the promise of that juicy low latency mode, well, it was too enticing, and with a home office studio remodeling on the horizon, I thought, why not upgrade everything? In order to achieve the low latency signal, this thing uses a dedicated wireless band for audio, at least that's what the spec sheet says. Now, I have no proof of this whatsoever, but I think this might just be some Wi-Fi band that is being used, which means that it is not immune to interference, and although I never experienced drops or anything that would taint the audio while listening to it stationary, the distance that is advertised is nowhere near what my unit was or is capable of. On the side, it's specified that you can walk up to 12 meters or 39 feet away from the transmitter, but in my flat I lose connection when I go to the can with these cans, and at a distance of around 16.5 feet or 5 meters away from my desk, it's a bit disappointing that I can't enjoy my musically supported drop-off point. The transmitter has a built-in battery, which is quite handy and takes a 3.5mm jack as its source. Otherwise, there's nothing else going on here except a power button and a battery indicator when you turn it on, as you can see here. I have it permanently plugged into my audio interface behind my desk and hooked up to a little USB power supply, which has worked great so far. The reason I have it set up like this is because I'm too lazy to reach for the power button every time I want to use it. The headphones luckily are a little more convenient to operate, although you can also use them while they are plugged in. However, that would defeat the whole wireless selling point. But at the advertised running time of 16 hours, it shouldn't be an issue anyway, although they did die on me once, but that was on a very long day. This means so that if you use these often and for a long time, it's likely you're going to have to charge them every night, which I do. Turning them on is straightforward, but a bit annoying. You have to hold down the center button for about 5 seconds until the white LED blinks. Here we go. You can see it almost. It's a faint glow. You also hear some audible feedback that it's trying to get connection, which at the moment it can't because, well, actually it can because it's turned on. Never mind. Anyway, it can get annoying because you have to do this every time you turn them on and off. A power slider button would have been much nicer, which is funny because there is one at the underside here. I'll get to this removing part in a second. You see this little slider button here? You can just slide it to Bluetooth mode. Yeah, you heard that right. These also have Bluetooth, which is really cool and means you can pair them to any Bluetooth compatible device. When you do that though, the sound changes quite drastically. On Bluetooth, it feels much more compressed. The soundstage transforms from a concert hall down to a little bedroom, so to speak. So if you have the transmitter, I would stick to that one. Or you could use the transmitter at home and Bluetooth on the go, although I have to say that the sound isolation on these isn't that great, and there's no noise cancellation either, which makes using them outside less ideal, although they are called studio headphones, so they're not really meant to be taken outside anyway. There's another difference between the Wireless Plus mode and Bluetooth, and it's something that others here on YouTube have pointed out as well. At a certain volume, the headset gets this weird bass layer of noise, and it starts pretty early on the scale too, which forces me to really crank the knob on my audio interface and bring back the volume on the headphones, which can be done by these volume up and down buttons right next to the center power button, which by the way also acts as a play and pause button if you're on Bluetooth. There's no play and pause if you're on the wireless plus mode. Now I was able to remedy the noise floor like this, and even if you don't have an audio interface, the headroom I had on my MacBook Pro when I directly plugged it in there was also plenty enough to achieve the same results, so this shouldn't really be an issue. If you switch to Bluetooth though, the noise completely disappears, even at the maximum volume, but it also sounds much worse and introduces the delay. So overall, this is probably the biggest issue I have with the TMA-2s. It's not a deal breaker, but at 350 euros, it shouldn't be like this. Construction-wise, I'm really taken by these. I love the minimal matte black aesthetics, although it's very susceptible to greasy fingerprints. I mean, I have pretty dry hands right now, and even just here I cleaned this before starting to shoot, and you can see all the markings here. It's just, I don't know what kind of material this is. It's kind of a soft plastic, but it takes up grease or whatever it is very, very easy. And as you probably can also tell, I have difficulty remembering which side is which is why I put these, I forgot what you call them, but I put markings on it to tell me which one is right or left. Anyway, the whole headphone is made of plastic. There's a bit of metal here at the end, or at least I think that this is metal. But overall, it doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel premium either, but I'd say everything feels solid. It's a bit scary when you bend the top part though, and the pressure was a bit tough when I first got them, but I've since gotten used to them, and I also think they're a bit more worn in by now. There's a single USB-C port for charging on the left side, and as mentioned before, you can still use them while they're plugged in. However, that leads to an uncomfortable cable running out of your cans, which brings me to another gripe I have, and it's the location of this port, which is really inconvenient. When you have the headphones assembled, let me just quickly do this. It's actually it's a bit inconvenient to reach the port. There's not a lot of room left here, and depending on the kind of cable that you have, it can also lead to quite a bit of stress on the port itself. The whole construction or the placement of this port isn't really convenient. Of course, you could charge them by removing the mugs, but I don't want to remove this every time I want to charge the headphone. It's just not a good solution. Shouldn't be there. But while we're at the removing of the mugs, actually I don't know why I'm calling them mugs, let's talk about the modularity, because this is actually a really cool and very unique part on these headphones. While you can buy all of their headphones as a completed unit, which is what I did, you can also buy each part individually. For example, they have 3 types of speaker units with different tunings, ear cups that can be just attached or replaced, as well as different bands that cater to different use cases. The wireless plus one I have here comes with the transmitter, of course, but there are also wired ones or Bluetooth only versions of these headphones, which is really cool. So you can basically put together the headphone that you actually want. Another thing that I really like about the modularity is the fact that you can replace individual parts if something breaks, and you're not forced to buy pairs either. You can get everything as a single unit, which is something that I really like. It actually goes even further than that, because Aiaiai has detailed guides on how to repair each of these parts by yourself in case they break. It's not complete yet, but it's still great to see the intention and support for this. Sometimes it can get a little confusing when you put these together though, because you don't know which side this cup belongs to and which side is actually up or down. Well, there are indications on the inside, but yeah, once you put the cup on it, you don't know it. Well, that's actually not entirely true. On the right side, you have a bit of a red lining, as you can see here, which correlates to the red lining on the cable. When I first got these, I actually assembled them wrong because I didn't notice the markings, and it made them sound terrible because, as you can see here, the underside of the cups have exactly the same looking port, which is for the wired cable, which by the way you can run this wired. You don't have to use them wirelessly. There's wireless plus, Bluetooth, and a wired mode. But once I figured it out, it's easily fixed and you can just put them together, and once they're set up, you're probably not gonna remove the cups very often, so this shouldn't really be an issue. Also, these Alcantara cups are super cushy and comfortable. I haven't had to go through a hot summer yet, but during the winter they always felt nice and soft, which isn't something I can say about the band. The whole thing is covered in this rubbery, silicone-y material, and there is a bit of cushioning at the top, but it's not that much. And there were days where they got a little uncomfortable after a long session. It's not bad, but again, for the price, these studio headphones, which are made to be worn all day, could be better. But all of that disappears once you start using them, because the low latency transmission works, and it works really, really well. I didn't notice any delay during editing nor when I played guitar, which says a lot because I think plucking a string and not having immediate feedback would have been a return argument. By now I can't imagine going back to any wired headphones again, not for this setting at least. It's just too convenient. Having the ability to walk around in my office without having to take these off while not compromising on sound, it's just too good. Speaking of sound, I've grown to really like what comes out of these. They do sound much more colored than my Sonys, but never in an oversaturated way. Mind you though, I'm not an audiophile. If you truly want to know how they sound, I'll link some more detailed videos down in the description below. So in the end, for me, these were well worth it, even though I still think they are a bit pricey, but I'm not aware of any other studio headphones that don't use Bluetooth and achieve the same results. If there are, please let me know, because I would be very interested. But if you don't need that low latency mode, I think there are a lot more viable options out there. These do look great though, and have a really nice attitude towards modularity and repairability, which I really like. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, go play some music, and see you in the next one. Bye!